A new report has just come out about the WWE that could literally change the company forever. This could very well impact their future. And yes, I am going to throw this out there. It could potentially be a threat to AEW, but I ask that you guys listen to this video in its entirety. We're also going to talk about some major news for WWE. A very big accomplishment has been reached, and I do want to discuss that as well as an AEW return. And it's all coming up right here on the Ango Show. All right, guys, and don't forget, if you want more videos like this, go ahead and click subscribe. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. I'd greatly appreciate your support. Let's get this AEW story out of the way, shall we? I think we got to talk about this because Ric Flair is coming back to AEW. He did reveal this on social media tonight. AEW Dynamite Beach Break. Pretty stacked lineup, honestly. But it appears that Ric Flair will be there to honor Steve Mongo McMichael, excuse me. Obviously, they're in Chicago. This makes a lot of sense. AEW is doing this show in tribute for Steve McMichael. And, well, Ric Flair, obviously, close friend, and he's going to be there. Now, of course, AEW has kind of drawn away from Ric Flair. You know, we saw him, Woo Energy, sponsoring the show, that kind of thing. He was on TV for a little bit of time. Nothing really ever came from it. Now, obviously, I've been very outspoken about Ric Flair and AEW. That's why I'm talking about this. Because if you watch this channel, you might remember when I've been very outspoken about him being in AEW. But this is a tribute. I have no problem with it. I think it's okay. Literally nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to push some sort of narrative that's anti-Ric Flair. He's going there to pay tribute to his friend. Not a problem. I don't typically cover wrestling deaths or anything like that. Obviously, AEW doing a tribute show, having a tribute, it's very great. You know, technically speaking, AEW hasn't officially announced it as a tribute, but they are obviously going to be acknowledging him and paying some sort of homage to him. Steve McMichael, you guys might remember him. Steve Mongo, former WCW Horseman. He was obviously a close friend of Ric Flair from Chicago, right? It just makes a lot of sense. I don't see a problem with it. I think that's really all I need to say about it. Really what it comes down to is AEW, while they haven't formally made the announcement, that's part of their plans. And that should be kind of what it is. Now, whether it's actually on TV or, maybe after the episode, we don't really know either, but it is something to pay attention to because we might see Ric Flair there. Well, we are going to see him, but it just depends if it's on TV or not. And that brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. TKO has secured a massive, massive deal for the WWE. Wow. I did not know how legit this actually was, but the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, NJSEA, is set to provide $7.125 million in public funds to support WWE's first ever two-day SummerSlam, which is scheduled for August 2nd and 3rd of this year. It's taking place at MetLife Stadium, and basically this is WWE's strategy. I tried telling you guys for a while, WWE's strategy is pretty simple and pretty bold. What they are doing is getting paid to bring their events to different states, different countries, and that's exactly what this is. However, this is actually the largest site fee that WWE has reportedly ever received within the United States, which is relatively massive. Now, with that being said, there is a lot of talk. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics coming out. He says not only is it the largest it's the largest deal for WWE in the United States, but the NJSEA spokesperson Brian Aberback actually explained the allocation. He says the allocated funds will be used to offset the cost of a negotiated incentive fee that is based in part on the benefits of hosting this two-night event in New Jersey. These benefits include an estimated total economic impact of over $80 million and increased global visibility for the state and region. Now, the reason why I even bring this up, yes, it's a massive deal for the WWE. That is obviously very clear. But the one thing that is not getting talked about often here is how big tourism is for WWE. WWE did SummerSlam in Detroit. Being from Detroit, we actually saw the economic impact in our city. A lot of tourism, a lot of hotels, a lot of restaurants, all jam packed, a lot of stores jam packed. People were needed for that weekend. People were actually hired temporary, like seasonal positions in the companies surrounding Detroit because of the upstick in tourism, which, by the way, tourism isn't that big in Detroit. So it does have a huge financial impact. It provides jobs. It's a great thing. We also know that AEW kind of did something similar with Grand Slam in Australia, where they received a site fee for being out there. This is awesome for professional wrestling, and this is awesome for WWE because there are people that do get to benefit from it outside of the wrestling world, and I definitely appreciate that. And I think, New Jersey, I've been to New Jersey, but I would assume New Jersey probably isn't the biggest tourism spot either. But you bring a SummerSlam event out there and it's 2 days, it makes a lot of sense. So WWE keeps getting paid, the cities benefit, and then people who need jobs also benefit. And that brings us to our final topic, ladies and gentlemen. This report could very well change things for WWE because the CW network is incredibly happy with WWE NXT. And I want to share some information with you guys because we're not just talking about viewership here, but there is a whole bunch of stuff. Please bear with me. So obviously October 2024, WWE NXT went to the CW network. Now, since then, a spokesperson for the CW network had actually gone into an interview publicly with Variety detailing NXT's impressive performance. Brad Schwartz, who is the CW president, came out and said that the most recent quarter of NXT was the highest rated NXT quarter in 5 years. It's up 19% year over year. He also highlighted that NXT's strong showing and against network competition. So this is where things get really interesting because the CW isn't the biggest TV network, right? It's not the most popular TV network. However, they have come out and said that NXT is basically regularly beating Fox on Tuesday nights, which to them has been unheard of. He says very specifically that NXT's impact has been absolutely crushing for the CW, and it's a major factor in the CW's overall 40% season-over-season viewership growth. Not only that, but the CW and WWE are constantly in discussions to have new ways of expanding their partnership, which also include additional WWE programming on the network. Now, keep in mind, NXT was paid for joining the CW, but out of all the TV deals, it was clearly the lowest paying one. It was very, 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 very cheap addition to the CW network. However, I think this is where things change. WWE NXT is basically becoming the focal point for the CW. CW is venturing into live sports. CW has the show All American. And the fact that NXT is consistently a top performer for this TV network basically suggests that for the foreseeable future, NXT's value to the WWE brand and to the CW is massive. And essentially what that's going to do long term is make NXT so valuable to the point where other TV networks will be interested. People pay attention to this kind of stuff. And the reason why I said earlier in today's video, I literally said, maybe this could be a threat to AEW. And it is. It is a possible threat. Not in the immediate side of things, but if you look at WWE NXT being a top performer for the CW and other companies want that, who's to say that these other companies don't go all in on investing WWE programming versus other wrestling companies? And that's a big part of it. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, I'm going to keep you updated. Don't forget, road to 100,000 subscribers. We're getting closer and closer. Appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.